This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and here comes, I think it's a very interesting Smackdown if you're looking for a 15-inch higher-end gaming laptop. We have the Alienware 15R3, just came out with NVIDIA Pascal 10 series GPUs, and we have the Asus ROG Strix GL502VS, a lot of letters and numbers to remember there, which came out actually about a month before, and it has the same NVIDIA Pascal 10 series graphics cards, both available with Core i7 CPUs, backlit keyboards, the usual IPS displays. There's a lot of similarities, and something that's going to surprise you is the fact that the Alienware isn't hundreds and hundreds of dollars more expensive. It's a couple of $100 more. We're going to see if it's actually worth it now. Alrighty, so price difference first off. The ROG Strix GL502VS, not the VM, which is less expensive. I'll talk just a little about that, but I do mention that in our full video review of the ROG, which you should watch if you're interested in it. The VS is $16.99, and the Alienware here with basically same configuration. There's a couple of differences. Obviously, we're going to talk about that. Is $18.99 at your local Micro Center. Best Buy has sales on these as well. Now, so you get $200 difference in the price here. We're going to talk about whether it's worth it or not. But also note that on Dell's website, if you go build it right now, it would be $2,074. So number one thing, Dell has coupons and sales all the time, especially since holiday season's coming. Avail yourselves of those. Don't go paying the list price on Dell's website. If you just call them up and ask for a discount, you'll get 10%, generally speaking, just by calling up sales. So I would take the prices that you see at Best Buy, Micro Center, other retail chains, whatever they may be near you live, as more of an indication of the actual price. So let's go with the $200 difference between these two. First obvious difference is the build quality. Now, the Asus laptop is by no means cheap, right? This is one of the more expensive Asus gaming laptops, not as expensive as the top-of-the-line G752 17-inch gamer, but still, it's not bad looking. You have a black aluminum cover that does show fingerprints. You have your bright orange graphics, which do light up, but they're pretty much that bright even when they're not illuminated. It's zingy. I leave it up to you as whether you like it. I kind of like it, but I kind of like those flashy looks and things like that. But as we turn it around and open it up and look inside here, it starts to look a little more cheesy here. This is genuine fake aluminum, brushed looking. That looks a little cheap for the price in my mind, but you know, the specs and the power inside of this thing and some other features really make me say that's okay. I can live with that anyway. The bottom side of our friendly Asus is, again, unabashed plastic, which, you know, is cool. So it's not going to get as burning hot as metal against your lap. So that's okay. But for people who like something that looks like quality for the price that they're paying, this might not make them so happy. In that case, if you like the Alienware's new redesign, which is very thin, but it's a pretty big footprint, and it has the forward move display here to get the ventilation area and the hot stuff away from you, this does look like more of a quality piece. You got an aluminum panel on the top, you got an aluminum panel on the bottom. When it's closed, it looks surprisingly thin. It looks like something that should cost a lot of money. Granted, it has gamer aesthetics, but kind of toned down. Like, this is gamer gone boardroom in a way. So I think most people are going to say, well, you know, this guy is the one that looks like the classier piece for your money. So for those of you who consider that to be an important part of the decision-making process, and inside you've got this nice soft touch black finish over here. Notice the keyboard. Here's a difference, but you know what? They're both equally as good. This is your, I won't call it old-fashioned, but more traditional style keyboard that has the bevels on the edges. 2.2 millimeters of key travel. Some people say, oh, it looks cheap because it's not a chiclet keyboard, but typing-wise, wonderful. Also, Alienware FX, you can have zone backlighting here. So you've got 3 separate zones going on here. Your macro row can be a different color. Your trackpad can light up a different color. There's outside LED piping all along the side of it. Again, watch our full review so you can see it. So yeah, it's actually a wonderful keyboard to type on, regardless of how you feel about island-style chiclet keys or not. Trackpad is also very good on this and very colorful and has very soft touch clickers, which I like a lot. Some people like a little more force. I don't want to feel like my thumb is dislocating. It's good stuff there. Now, with the Asus, you do have an island-style keyboard, and I think the whole look of it is pretty nice. As to how you feel about your orange WASD keys, I leave that up to you. I'm cool with that again. You have, obviously, orange keys here. This is just the only color that you get for the backlighting. There's no chroma backlighting, no zone backlighting. just regular old orange. It's very easy to see in the dark. It works. I don't need particularly to have zone lighting much as it's entertaining to show you folks for videos. Again, you know if you like zone backlighting or not. There's no LED piping along the sides or anything like that. That's obviously not stuff that's functional. It's just kind of cool looking. The trackpad is okay. It's not bad. It tracks pretty decently. It's a buttonless trackpad. I like buttons better myself. You may not. It's also a loud, clicky thing. It works okay though. I'd like a little bit more physical sense of separation in the surfaces here. It's kind of slippery plastic, but it gets the job done just fine. Now, where are these funny little orange things right over here on each side? Those are your speakers. So it's always a good idea to have them up firing or firing at you somehow. And if you watch my full review, you know that I'm kind of disappointed by the speakers. They're stereo speakers. They're not terribly loud or full. I reviewed the tiny Asus ZenBook 3, a 12.5-inch laptop that had better speakers than this. So headphone audio, external speakers, if you really want that kind of impressive, nice, filling the room gamer sound, or you're watching movies and you want it to feel like a multimedia powerhouse experience. Alienware has the speakers front edge facing at you, also stereo speakers, louder and fuller. They're not super loud, they're not, oh my god, but they're pretty much adequate. They sound pretty nice when you're gaming. You don't have to use stereo speakers externally or headphones just to hear this audio. And we'd like to thank our sponsor for this, HP, and also QVC. So here we have HP 17-inch laptop that's going to be the least expensive laptop yet on QVC's Black Friday sale. This is a 17-inch display, AMD A12 CPU, an actual optical drive, an ample amount of ports. So for those of you who are looking for something more affordable, not just a gaming laptop, somebody in your family needs something, a big screen, and, well, some obviously very classy colors, this one's going to be on the QVC site for Black Friday on sale. Be sure to check it out. Now for displays, this gets a little bit complicated. For the Asus, we have a 1920 by 1080 IPS G-Sync display. These are both matte and non-touch. Asus lists a 4K IPS display as coming. It's not out yet, so I don't know what the pricing's like. I don't know what the quality is going to be like on that. So we're going to focus on the 1080p because that's what's available for the 502VS right now. They actually are fairly similar panels, and they're both LG Philips made panels. They're both pretty bright. You can see that the Alienware is a little bit brighter. We're talking about 320 nits versus 340 nits. So both pretty bright, but the Alienware is brighter. Though they both measure similarly with our colorimeter, which is a hardware device you use to measure color, you can see the Alienware has a slightly more vivid looking display, a little bit more punch. It has a bit higher contrast ratio, and that's part of the reason why it's looking just a little bit better. It's a 1920 by 1080 IPS panel as well. It does not have G-Sync, but that gets, here's complicated again. You can get G-Sync with an Alienware 15, but that option is a 120 Hertz refresh TN panel, not IPS. So you won't have the same viewing angles. It's a high quality TN panel, but not the same viewing angles. Even brighter 400 nits. I don't know if we really need 400 nits. I mean, how often are you going to use this outdoors in the sunlight? It's a gaming laptop. But there you have it. And there's also a 4K display option. So you have more display options available to you. So if you want G-Sync, you have to go with that TN panel right now with Alienware, which is too bad, whereas you get it with the base 1080p panel on the Asus. That said, because the graphics cards in these are so powerful, V-Sync alone is enough to control visual tearing right now. Pretty much every game that you got is going to run at 60 frames per second easily. So that keeps the panel and the GPU pretty well in sync. While we're talking about that, one of the reasons the Alienware does not have G-Sync is for NVIDIA Optimus, and that gives you surprisingly good battery life. Most gaming laptops have, let's face it, sucky battery life. The base IPS model has Optimus, so that means that when you're not gaming, if you're just surfing the web, doing anything non-demanding that doesn't need the graphics processor, it can use Intel HD integrated graphics instead. So ours actually runs about 6 hours on a charge, unplugged, which is pretty darn good. Our Asus, on the other hand, is about 3 hours because it doesn't have Optimus. You can't have both G-Sync and Optimus because G-Sync connects the video card directly to the display panel. It's a hardware connection method that, well, it's just physically different. Both of these have Intel Skylake 6th generation quad-core 45-watt CPUs. There's no Kaby Lake yet available. That's why we're still at Skylake here for quad-core mobile CPUs. So you're looking at the same performance, honestly. Now with the Alienware, if you want to go really low in price, there's the 1349 model that has a Core i5 instead. With Asus, it's Core i7, that's all they offer. There's no overclockable CPU option yet for the Asus. There is for the Alienware. If you really want to go crazy with that, you can get the 6820 overclockable CPU. Both of these are available with the NVIDIA GTX 1070M, 8GB DDR5 RAM inside. Now the VS model specifically has that for the Asus ROG. With the Alienware, there's also a 1060 available. If you want to spend less money, it's $200 less if you go with the GTX 1060M instead. With Asus, that would move you down to the Asus GL502VM model. Slightly different model with only one RAM slot, a couple of other little differences internally there. Overall, in terms of benchmarks, they do very similarly. In terms of gaming performance, they do very similarly, since both of ours have the 1070 here. The Alienware, surprisingly, is the one that has the cooler CPU and GPU. I say surprisingly because it obviously has a bigger chassis to work with here, so it's got a little more room for cooling, but it is the thinner one, 1 inch versus 1.2 inches. And when we first reviewed it, we had the 1.02 BIOS, and it actually was kind of toasty and hot on the outside. And the 1.06 BIOS brought down the CPU and GPU temperatures a little bit, and really brought down the physical temperatures too on the casing area. So about 10 degrees cooler for the CPU and GPU when gaming. Now that said, the Asus runs about 65 to 68 degrees for the CPU, and about 78 degrees, this is Celsius, for the GPU. That's perfectly acceptable. That's not alarmingly hot or anything like that. It's just that the Alienware runs as chilly, honestly, as some 17-inch gaming laptop. So they did a good job with this revised design, revised cooling, and the updated BIOS to take care of it. That said, the Alienware is metal on the bottom, so you'll feel the heat a bit more if you're gaming. The Asus stays so cool you could actually keep it on your lap when you're gaming. It'll get warm, but it's not going to get burning hot, though I would avoid blocking the ventilation on either of these when you're gaming. Now, in terms of upgradable internals, they have a lot in common. They both have 2 RAM slots. They both have the usual socketed Wi-Fi card. Alienware always goes with killer Wi-Fi, which you folks know if you watch my reviews that I like a lot. 1535 AC or 1435 AC, depending on how much you want to spend. The price is pretty close between those. And Intel 8260 AC Wi-Fi on the Asus. So you have a 2.5-inch drive bay, which comes with a 7200 RPM spinning hard drive for both of these, and you can put in a 2.5-inch SSD. I recommend that. You know, your games are going to load quicker. And they both have M2 PCIe NVMe SSD drives. And our configurations here both are 256 gig. Now, Alienware goes a little bit further. Where there's one slot in our Asus. There's actually 2 2280 full height SSD M2 slots and a half height one too. So a little bit more for expandability there if you really want to put a bunch of M2 drives in there. For ports, well, both of these have a lot of USB ports. You have your Ethernet, you have your DisplayPort, you have your HDMI. You're well covered here, as you would expect to be for a gaming laptop. The Asus 502VS model has a USB-C 3.1 port. It does not have Thunderbolt 3. And the Alienware pulls ahead here because it has a USB-C 3.1 port on the side and a USB-C/Thunderbolt 3 port on the rear. So 2 more forward-looking ports, plus you get the Alienware graphics amplifier port. And you know, there's value to that, honestly, because you can get a Razer Core and it's going to be $500, and then the cost of the video card. The Alienware graphics amplifier does the same thing, but it uses that Alienware port. If you bought an Alienware, why not go with that? That's $159 for the external graphics amplifier, plus you got to throw in the video card. So that's pretty appealing right there. The Alienware is very heavy, 7.7 pounds. That's big weight there for a 15-inch machine. The Asus's charm is that it's relatively very light for a 15-inch gaming laptop. They say 5 pounds. They're lying. What's up with that? I put it on the scale. It's 5.5 pounds for this, okay? Still, 5.5 pounds, 7.7 pounds. You can figure that out. Plus, the power brick is heavier with the Alienware, but you know, that's actually a good thing, because with the Asus, they give you a 180-watt power adapter. It really needs about 210 watts or so. So they did that so they give you a smaller power brick, and it would seem like a more portable package. That means that your battery might drain by 5% an hour when you're gaming. It's not going to hurt the laptop or anything like that. The charger will get hot, though. You get the proper 240-watt adapter, actually, with the Alienware, so it is bigger. It has a bigger footprint, but there you have it. So it's ironic though, because here we have Optimus with the Alienware. So that means you got 6 hours of battery life. That's something, you know, a road warrior would want. You can actually take this around and use it and have good battery life. But it's pretty darn heavy, isn't it? It has a bigger footprint. So here we don't have Optimus. So we only have 3 hours of battery life, but we have the much more portable design. That's why you need Smackdowns, right? There's so many pros and cons here. So you can see that you really are, you're getting something for your $200 here with the Alienware. You're getting a much nicer design, physical build quality, and more M2 slots. But you know what? They're really pretty close too. And you get things like G-Sync here. You get that portability if that's important to you, and you can live, you know, with 3 hours of battery life, which some of us just need to make it from class to class, plug it in the classroom, whatever it is. Then there's a lot to be said for this, and it is a little bit cheaper too. These are from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to watch our video reviews of each of these. Read our written reviews. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, and thumbs up if you like this.